It's amazing.
Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood Was Armageddon. The Mud Flood was the Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else. I'm trying to pop all my vowels and my accents. I saw a video about how the vowels cause a toroidal Mobius strip, and people, it was like, if you mispronounce a word, nobody's going to believe you, RJ. How weird is that? Everybody, welcome the famous Randy from Wisconsin. How you doing, brother?
Good evening. Yeah.
What in the world? Let's talk about the one video we were just talking about, but let's don't talk about it as those who jab and those who don't. It'll be hard, but we have to talk about that video. It was all about those who jab and those who don't. And it seems like the ones who do jab, they're being coached to hate the people that don't jab more than just like, why don't they like the Patriot Act? We have to give up some of our freedoms past the day. I got swept up into that one from 9/11, right? It changed everybody. We had to give up some freedom. Right? Wrong.
Well, we were forced to. I didn't volunteer, but
I
yeah.
voted. I wanted my representatives to vote for the Patriot Act because of the terrorists. I did. I didn't come.
Uh,
I didn't come out the gate like as some of the very, very few people, and I remember some of their names, but I know everybody tells me I was on to them from the beginning. I always hated that Patriot Act. Well, I guess I'm the only dumbass in the world that thought, that believed we got to, well, this time we've got to do it.
it's not an inside job.
And the
So
whole thing is because now we're not doctors, we're not medical people, we are not doctors, but wasn't there a thing when we were growing up that there was a medical procedure that you could have that you were told that if you had it, you would never get it again because you uh, pretty providentially, are you reading what I'm selling here? They don't want, it used to be that if you had that medical procedure would affect this, and then you would never get it again. And somebody sitting next to you would never have to worry about it. Because supposing they had the same medical procedure, if a whole family of immigrants came in and they haven't had that medical procedure, but that one person did, we were raised in an era where that medical procedure would have said, who cares? Come on in. You can't hurt me.
any longer, yeah.
But no, now after COVID, I don't care how much sense you make. I don't care if you're the famous Randy from Wisconsin, you'll put it in the paper and you'll count your words and your syllables and you'll make your point and people will go, yawn, what an idiot. They don't care if you use the Bible or math or anything else. You didn't make sense to them. If they're going to laugh at you, then well, I'm going to laugh at you too. Took me a long time to realize I never was around when my wife was talking to my children about what type of a man their father really was.
Yeah, I'm not a Nephilim, but I'm sort of a clown. Yeah.
Hey, man, that sounds like you've been practicing that one. I got some downloads, probably not too many today, because I was like out on my bicycle all day. What? RJ, remember I was trying to pull this over, and you're going like, "Oh, except during a lunar eclipse," and I was going like, "You're a human." Spoiler alert: half the moon's surface is always illuminated by the sun. Well, half the time you can go out in the sky and look at the moon, and if
During
it,
the day,
yeah, if it's not a full moon, it's not. You're not going to see half the moon. illuminated over half the time. It's just not the way it is. And the whole thing with the new year is just.
Well, the whole thing, when you see it during the day and the sun's in the sky and they can be not, how can it not be full?
How can it not be an elephant in the room? And the fact is that was one of the first things that got me, RJ. And I talked my sister out onto the porch, and she's there like, yeah, that's weird. And then I showed her this other video, and when her son got home and I was showing her that video, he called her into the other room, and she came back and said, I can't watch these videos anymore. Because if what you're saying is true, then when my son was invited to sing at the memorial for Sandy Hook, that would mean that's fake too. And well, he was there and he sang for those people and he knows it's real. Okay. Wow, you got me. You got me. Hidden study that will blow your mind, where I got that awesome thumbnail for this video. I could have used that thumbnail. I almost did. For example, the vowel sound A is associated with Taurus. Wonder if it's Taurus B. There's that cool. Michael Tellinger, the less famous David Icke, but probably smarter than Brian Forster or the Randall Carlson. And probably, I don't know why he's not as popular as those other guys, but he's still pretty popular. This is his blah 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 stuff put out last year. And you know what they're trying to do now with this human vocal apparatus thing they got going? I'm on to them, RJ. Name it and claim it.
I'm not familiar with them. So
well, they're name it and claim it secular people.
Okay.
They want to convince them that the people in the charismatic community are right. They can just speak it into existence. I don't have really good a cut out of them going like, we believe we could speak it into existence, but I'm pretty, I'm Paco. I'm the guy. It's true. That's what they think. This is weird, right? This
Whatever
is how they're going to speak it into existence using a torus and a microveda matter principle. It's like they just want to confuse you.
You're not sharing, right? Or you?
Dang it! I thought I was.
Oh, I thought you were just kind of rambling, but then
I was rambling, but I was rambling with these pictures. that the half, we didn't really need that, but it would have been nice if you could have seen it. Now they're not scrolling. So here's that one. When you say the word A, that's how come I said Taurus A, what would it be like if it was Taurus B? So your cymatic pattern, and there's the thumbnail from that Michael Tellinger, their human vocal, they are actually using the same pictures I use, except they're going to try to convince the charismatics that you name it and claim it. You can speak it into existence, man.
Checkmate. Oh,
you suckered me. Hey, a lot of people know what a libation
for money. Yeah,
you smurfer. That's a liberation. I was thinking, libations. Isn't that what another word for spirits? This is so dramatic. I can hardly stand it.
Good animation.
Yeah, 2019 libration and position angle. No, look at it spin up here.
Well, it's kind of teetering, right?
It's kind of like, kind of loud. RJ, remember that one thing you sent me? It was like, look at these marbles are just going back and forth, but it looks like they're forming a star on when you release them.
Oh yeah, they're just going back and forth, but it looked like it was in a it appeared as a circular motion, but they were just going back and forth.
Right. Well, pay attention to the one on the
But
bottom.
they
Why
were
doesn't
synchronized.
it do that? This is just for me and you. Why doesn't this thing go back and forth just like those things do?
There's a lot less here. You just
See the yellow thing?
yeah.
That is not going in a straight line because they have to show it tip to go back the other way. Now, wait a minute. We're tidally locked to the moon. Why is it rocking back and forth like a teeter-totter? It's a rhetorical question. There's a good answer for it. It's libations. Doggone it. I'm not trying to say that I'm smarter than those people who are going to want to kill me because I wouldn't take a medical procedure and that somehow is going to affect them. The script has been twisted. Here's a simulated view of the moon over 1 month demonstrating the Libra vibrations. That's one. Okay, well, it's librations in latitude and longitude. So it's not tidally locked, not moving forever. Just we always see, we never see the dark side of the moon. Well, we kind of see more than the face only. These are the librations of the moon. There's a theoretical extent of their visible lunar surface, which you can see is not a ball. So they always go like, look, if everything in the sky is a ball, then we're probably what? The diurnal librations of the elephant in the room is actually observed from the beginning of the end of a single night. There's a lot of stress on that tidal basin spinning up there on the moon. You'd be shaking too. Huh. So you don't see the same pattern. See M Sistrum right over here? It's almost at the edge right here. You can put your thumb over that. It's just part of the elephant in the room. You know what another part is? The wet moon. How many times did mom tell you not to get the moon wet? So alleged, we never see this, RJ. We don't ever get to see this here, but some people in some places,
Were the crescents horizontal?
yeah,
Rather,
the horns start like this, and then in the summer the horns are like this, and by the time it's the winter, well, that's a lot more than they showed me with that little libration of the actual 1 day. Remember, it was shaking back and forth. It was, come on, baby. It did the twist. Moons are funny, huh? The wet moon. I don't know why they call its horns are different. They call it wet. It goes back to one of those other poor countries that we needed their pineapples, so we took them over. Yeah, 1958. The last thing the Queen of Hawaii heard was, "Madam, for the sake of your citizens, please sign this. We don't want to kill them." That's a paraphrase, but that basically. And then she was placed under house arrest for the rest of her life. But and this was all after we were already born, Randy. We were little boys when that happened.
well, today
1958.
they were getting flooded there.
I saw that. I saw that one. And it was not Maui. It was Oahu or another one. Yeah, one of the ones that starts with the O. You think the wet moon's funny? What about this tidal locking? See, that's how they work it. And because it tidal locks, you can see the one on the right kind of spins at a little bit of a funny. Well, its horns. It's not tidally locked. It kind of shifts a little bit there. They're well, it's kind of. Why isn't the Earth in the middle? Why is it spinning around a compact disc?
Well, yeah, the animation where observing has nothing to do with reality. I mean,
Oh yeah, because this isn't Earth. This is Pluto and its moon, and they're both tidally locked to each other. Man, I'm glad I'm not confused about that anymore. The time of now that these misaligned with the major
oh, a
axis, and
Mobius strip, huh? Is that what you're
I'm just
doing?
more confused. See, they thought they were going to help me, but now I'm back to confused. Huh? Tidally locked. That Pluto or Uranus? Hey, we already studied
Yeah.
that picture. So librations, tidal locking and wet moon seem to be somewhat okay. They answered them. What is a lunar month?
Mobius.
Dang, if it's not that thing again. There's that libration for the month. Everything that they go comes back to I'm picking up bad vibrations. It's causing me excitations. In lunar calendars, a lunar month is the same time between two successive. You want to say that word for me, RJ?
Hmm.
Okay.
I'd have to
It's
let me.
pronounced yeah. Syzygy is the same thing as the libration. I'm picking up. Yet others use calculations of varying degrees of sophistication. For example, the Hebrew calendars or the ecclesiastical lunar calendars. You'd think they just find one calendar and go like, we know what day it's on, because these guys would always go, you're wrong. It's whatever day you got, you're wrong. We'll prove it. So many may have 29 or 30 days in length because the moon is always catching up with the sun. Or how is it catching up with it? If it's just like a part of what's going on. Anyway, I don't
Well,
really
the
want to
sun
get in.
laps it every month.
Well,
The
it's
sun
still,
laps the moon every month.
so the sun is like the hare and the tortoise and the hare thing.
Well, but what the sun travels in 6 months, the moon does it every month, north to south.
That's weird. I recommended that movie of Biblim last night. I hope he likes it. Do you think Jason Bashir watched that in prison and based his whole channel off the AIX? I don't know who Jason Bashar is, but I do know that I was in jail there in Castle Rock. They let you watch TV sometimes, so you can see a movie if you're in the prison or jail. Ooh, they only give you one blanket though. Oh, it's like the worst. Hey, we got to keep rolling on the elephant in the room. Let's talk about abscess. Abscess is the nearest point in orbit of a planetary body about its primary body. The line of apsides is the line connecting the two extreme values. This is part of the sun and the moon movement here. This is your apsides, it's sliding like a marble back and forth here on its incline. See, they're showing the Earth centered up straight, but they're implying the icon for orbital mechanics related to notice. Whatever
Well,
that
it's all BS. I don't know what.
Yeah.
I understand, they're BS, but
They got name. Once it's
yeah,
real. It's good BS when they got names for it.
but that isn't what's going on.
No, but if you were one of the normal people that was going to be coached someday to hate people that didn't have the jab, you'd show them this and they'd say the people that don't understand this are stupid and they should die. And that guy'd go, yeah, let's go
Well,
get them.
it's not that I don't understand it. I understand it fine, but it has nothing to do with reality. this is just a wet dream thing. And I
Are
think
you just
that's
you're
a wet
just begging
moon.
you're begging for a trip to the infirmity for a lobotomy partner? Here I am trying to save your life, and you're just digging in. I
Well, I
suppose that
want, the real stuff, the truth things,
okay.
but
Well,
this
how
don't BS. Yeah.
well, here's the moon. It's the Earth's only natural satellite, about 30 times the diameter of the sun. Over time, Earth's gravity has caused tidal locking. Here we go again with the big capital G. Earth's gravity decided, I am so sick
But
of
gravity's a theory. Gravity's a theory. And
tidal
that's an
locking.
idea that you can't prove. Gravity is, it's bullshit.
Well, ipso facto, then tidal locking would have to be a theory. Huh.
I understand that. Like I
Oh,
say,
okay.
it isn't that
All
I
right.
don't understand what you're presenting here, but it's
Ah.
all bullshit.
Well, there's a moon up there that we know.
There
The
is,
simple fact is that the Luna.
but is it identifying as a moon or is it just a greater or lesser light? I don't know.
It doesn't tell me its pronouns. How are we supposed to guess? Now, the actual transient lunar phenomenon, it's a short-lived change in light, color, or appearance on the surface of the moon. It's kind of like what who was it? Jeranism, the guy who wouldn't invite me on his show after he said he would. He didn't he see those ripples on the moon or something like that?
Yeah.
That's what they're talking
in the
about.
firmament. I think it was more in the
No,
firmament.
he had a wave on them. One of these guys had a wave on the moon. It was,
But the moon is in the firmament, and the ripples, you'd see it in the face, but it was more, I believe, in the firmament than it actually the moon. It's perspective, or
so claims of these short-lived lunar phenomena
the
allegedly
above the firmament.
the water's up there. Yeah. So these alleged lunar
ripples.
waves have been spotted for over 1,000 years.
Sure.
And so they are now, as of 1968, admitting, okay, something's moving up there, but we don't have.
Well, they go around every day.
To get some foggy patches to permanent changes of the lunar landscape. Scape.
And they're up there because, for tracking time.
Mm-hmm.
Days, months, years. That's the purpose.
Okay. All right. You keep talking like this and you're going to get yourself killed. Going back to June 18th, 1178. How's that for specificity?
Yeah.
5 or more monks. Let's get back to the vagueness. 5 or more from Canterbury. Let's face it, they make a delicious candy bar. Reported an upheaval on the moon. Dang, 1158, June 28, and all's not well. There was a bright new moon. And
what zoo were these monkeys from? Oh, Canterbury.
As usual, in that phase, its horns were tilted toward the east. I guess the horn split thing didn't bother them. They knew all about it. But suddenly, the upper horn split in two. You know what I would have said? Son of a beep.
Wow.
Yeah. From the midpoint of this division, a flaming torch sprung up. All 5 or more of the monks from the yummy Canterbury said, it's spewing out over a considerable distance. The moon is spewing hot coals and sparks. I would have liked to have been there for that one. I mean, that's a lot more than a lunar wave, but you talk about jumping into your transient lunar phenomenon. I should have tried to say phenomena. It made a Taurus with
the boat here now.
rock the boat. Don't rock the boat, baby. Rock the boat. So there's another elephant in the room, RJ. It's social Darwinism. It's the study and implementation of various pseudo scientific theories and societal practices that purport to apply biological concepts of natural selection and survival of the fittest to, well, they may be theories, but they're so well believed, they're taken as what we call gospel. Social Darwinists believe that the strong should see their wealth and power increased. Didn't it used to mean they would survive? When did it change, RJ, for Darwinism? Wasn't it you adapted because you were going to be stronger and powerful and more? Now Darwin is, believe that the strong are those who should see their wealth and power increase, while the weak don't get eaten because they're weak. They see their wealth and power decreased, and rightfully so, if Darwinism is true, because all hail the smart ones, right?
Well, yeah. As far as an observation, societies that do well and prosper and have, little to no worries about being invaded or whatever, war, to be dominated. Why do they always, in all cases, have less children then? And then eventually they're taken over. They collapse from within. It's just a fact. Like what we're experiencing here in the United States and Europe, and then you need the influx of immigrants, to do what the natives aren't willing to do, repopulate. It's just a fact. And it's just a matter of time, and nothing's like it used to be.
It's like a vicious cycle.
Well, it is if you're fortunate enough to prosper, do well, and not have the what had been the driving force to when there's less certainty.
Yeah.
For some reason, the population repopulates, but when it's everything is even keel, nothing to see, nothing to worry about. We can't maintain even the population. We can't maintain that number. It just goes into decline,
And they notice that, and right now,
and it's nothing new.
The white countries are all declining, and the power base of the white people is eroding. And people are looking into how did they get that power base? And it seems like it fits. It was after a deception of Satan, 1,000 years of peace. Something happened, and a remnant was left, and they all hit the ground running. They had a plan of subjugation, and it is to get people into a state of mind where their first instinct is not to say, "Oh God, please help me," but it is, where's the government? They were supposed to have taken care of this. The world you described, we lived in, RJ, from we basically don't remember much of the 50s. We were too little, but we remember the 60s. We remember the 70s, the 80s. We remember them all because we were grown up during them. Sure. And this is a big change, everyone. This world has changed, and there's no getting it back. You're not going to vote it in. You know what? This may come about that the world is set up right now for a little bit of embarrassment of the world, and maybe Donald Trump wasn't, doing his, anything that anybody else didn't do. Well, so was Martha Stewart. They put her cute little uh bobbed haircut in jail, didn't they? They're
I believe she served time.
they'll
I,
they'll
I'm
they'll they'll prop Trump up
but
as a good
none of
guy,
them security,
and
but yes.
then we'll remember Operation Warp Speed would not have happened unless the far side of Donald Trump was in office and said, we have to accelerate this and we'll use Operation Warp Speed. But in the meantime, doesn't it seem like he's kind of being vindicated? Like, ooh, he's not that bad. Biden's bad. And everybody else is going, no, Biden's good. And they've got us right where they want us again. And it all comes down to that, they added 1,000 years. Mud flood was Armageddon. We know we're right. We feel it, but we're a very small percentage of the world that even consider what the Lord has shown this ministry when we were called mud flood was or flat earth nation, golden age past. That's taken over the world. I've come to grips, you've come to grips that we're never going to be like held up as, hey, look, they thought that Jesus already came back and now everybody else does too, because that's not the way this is supposed to go down. We're already living in the judgment. It's happening right now. Things in this country will never be returned to the same. And it did start because people believed in social Darwinism. It was an effort to maintain Christianity, pretend Christianity in a country that was based on apartheid type laws. People don't want to hear that. But doggone it, RJ, the history tells us there was a Darwinist movement. And
Oh, sure. Yeah, right.
it's not survival of
Like
the
the
fittest
monkey
anymore.
trial thing was that, and that was such a farce.
It was all a farce to be talked about the rest of our life. A 3-month trial talked about, PhDs. My father-in-law was an expert on the Scopes monkey trial. The emphasis I want people to see here is it is no longer on the survival of the Nephilim, the fittest, the ones who are going to be like, I'm going to get in shape. I am going to exercise my mind, my juggling skills, my foot skills, my fighting skills, my martial laws. I'm going to be the fittest. No, right now, the survival of the fittest is who can accumulate wealth and power. Well, that's a lot better for some people because they don't want to think that, then it leaves them, well, we had no choice. We had to take care of these people.
Wealth and power is, I guess, if you have it, I'm sure there's nothing wrong with it. But I think the main thing is, how you're treating your temple, kind of like that, the prosperous farmer. What am I going to do with all my, well, I'm going to tear down my barns. I'm going to build bigger, and I'm going to, retire, take it easy. You fool.
You
Tonight
didn't count the cost.
Required.
You're not going to get to see your barn built, dude. After the publication on the origin of the species in 1859, things changed. They needed to go like, whoa. Are you trying to tell us only the strong win? No. See that first sentence there? After publication of On the Origin of the Species in 1859, one strand of Darwin's followers argued natural selection ceased to have any noticeable effect. It couldn't have, no effect, but any noticeable effect on humans once organized societies had been formed by Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, Alexander the Great, and the continuing argument, should it be a Republican or a democratic society? Let's argue about those two for the rest of our lives. Yeah, because, they're organized societies, but one's better than the other by far, and the other is completely evil, and they should all be killed. It turned into that, RJ.
Well, yeah, if you're dealing, two heads on the same serpent, some sort of uniparty that we're familiar with here.
Kind of the Ouroboros, that snake eating its tail. The term Darwinism was coined because Darwin wrote the book, and it convinced the whole world somehow miraculously people weren't created. Okay. It was coined by Thomas Huxley a couple of years after. He's a cousin of him, and he's called Darwin's bulldog. It was used to describe a range of concepts of evolution or development without any specific commitment to Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection. It was just kind of like, that's the way it go. These arrangements did not in any way affect that which we understand by the word tenure, that is, a man's farm, but they related solely to cattle, which we consider a chattel. It's type of a slave. We completely own that living, breathing system. It appeared necessary to devote some space to this subject, inasmuch as that usually acute writer, Sir Henry Maine, has accepted the word tenure in its modern interpretation and has built up a theory under which the Irish chief, quote unquote, developed into a feudal baron. I can find nothing in the Behan laws to warrant this theory of social Darwinism, and believe basically, if you're not white, well, even if you're just a Irish, because they didn't consider them white then, they do now, but then they didn't. It was just like, well, it can't be like our society. They weren't like feudal barons. They're practically one step up from animals. It's monkeys. They all believed it, man. I kid you not.
Well, if you teach it to them young, they probably...
And you'll find when you study this that pretty much every ancient civilization, certainly everyone that I've studied and come across, the further back you go and you eventually stumble upon their creation theories.
Okay, so that's from that, speak it into existence.
And how the world and the universe came to be. You will find those words.
I've got a delay. I clicked pause before I started that sentence, and it's still playing
through either sound or vibration or resonance.
I had to click pause again. Speak into existence. So with all the torus and the Mobius strip that we've been introducing to the world, and as I've said before, it's unfortunate the way that, to appeal to the narrow road, I have to inform the wide road to actually the way things work. And so now they're getting, hey, we can teach them how to speak things into existence. But do notice, social Darwinism wasn't a thing until, and it's only been a thing in our recent history from, Great Britain and United States, from the white people. Before that, as the man was saying, everybody else had a creation story. Everybody else knew they were created. At this point, in the loosening of Satan is the only time in the world where the wide road is going to want to kill people who believe in God, because somehow they're the ones that do not comply. What was this guy yakking about?
They also gathered a number of different things.
To recover animal bones, seeds, and other evidence of diet, the excavators carefully sift each bucket load through a fine mesh screen.
Hey, because I think I missed the one thing is here where it's all based on the history of Darwinism, that at one point we were animals, hunter-gatherers.
The archaic people here, the ones who lived here 6,000 to 8,000 years ago, made their living by hunting and gathering.
What's wrong with that? The way the way that things are going right now, and the reason I'm in Alamosa and think that eventually other survivors will join me here in the middle of nowhere is because something's going on in this world. And there's going to be a division. And there are going to be those who, along with the rest of their family, would rather live in peace, hunting and gathering their own healthy foods, than live in a city accepting a lie, whether it be medical or about the moon. But honestly, RJ, we've been trying for 10 years to get one person to come over that let me use reason and logic to show you why I think I believe it. And they think we're fools. We used to be the head of the family, bringing home the bread and the bacon, paying off mortgages, hitting home runs in baseball tournaments, winning card tournaments, and then all of a sudden we're just the stupidest person in the world. Go figure. How did they fool us so bad? I got the Mustang schedule. I am ready to roll. I am going to do it, RJ. You know, I've got some time. I have the inclination. These towns, you know, you think I can't afford this?
Mustang Sally.
I know I have more stuff here. Oh, yeah, I do. This is scary. Ooh, look at the demon from Solomon Shamir.
Hey, did you see that video where that guy is cooking up? What were them chitties, or what do they call them? Them bugs that are every 13 years or something.
Oh, the locust. The
well, it's not a
it comes out of the ground every 17 years. Cicada. They call it the cicada type locust.
Yeah.
There's one that comes out every 13 years. One comes out every 17 years. And
but he was cooking them up like I don't know, half dozen different ways.
A little butter, a little salt.
Well, maybe that would have been one, but then one was like a pig in a blanket, but it was that bug. And then another one, you know, was a bacon wrap. And then some were like breaded, you know, and fried. Yeah. And they were eating them up, and with a little wine or whatever your favorite beverage is.
Pretty soon they'll be selling them at
John the Baptist ate them that way, but
with a little toothpick, you know, you put a little toothpick on them, dip them in a salty brine, and sell them for $5 at the Denver baseball teams. You know,
picking them up right around his home there in his front yard. And
anyway, for people that get your pencils out, write this down. You know, where things there is something weird going on with, you know, that make no graven image. I've studied it. It's weird. It could be something that there was something that could be programmed to engrave on gemstones. I get it, but all of their references to Solomon Shamir comes from apocryphal books or the, you know.
Yeah, Darren nailed it here. That's what they were called.
Midrash, you know. It's the verbal, the oral law. It's what Jesus hated, you know. So, you know, we don't know everything about what's going on, but I do know that that's a fairly interesting drawing from a Eberhard von Happel from 1707. So let's just look at some of his work. This is what, although he mostly draws, that's Africa, man. Yeah. Okay. And he's got the swirling patterns of the ocean going too. So we know he drew that one thing around 1707. He drew this one in somewhere around that area. Grew up in England. What we could notice is we could track their letters. First thing, you know, okay, They're using letters that I all recognize, and I don't see any of the other letters that, like the A and the E and some of the
So
other.
it's like a
Well,
crude
here
English.
it's Europe. We can see that E is, yeah. America is all of this. America is the A is, and the A it starts. This is all America. This is all California. Texas looks like the Mississippi got rearranged at some point after the reaping, because it goes back to the whole all the rivers and stuff, they just don't flow to the sea anymore. So Ed Ebhard Varner, he did this one too. You like this? That's some real letters right there. That's Montezuma. I'm pretty sure that's Montezuma. I'm pretty sure that's like an eagle, What else we got here?
Feathers.
So Ebhard, he can, this is not a white man. It's Montezuma. I can't show every Ebhard. Here's the inhabitants of New France. Now that would be America. America's New France.
Nice bow.
Is he wearing that which pertaineth to a woman? These jeans? What's he got going there? I'm just kidding.
Looks like tights. Tights.
What is going on there?
Nylons.
Right. There's this other one I wanted to, I can't show them all, but there was some where it looked like they were different height. This one here, the King of Florida. Now, see, remember I told you the acanthus plant does not have to be planted. They show one just being dropped on the ground. Welcome to Florida. Let me hold your coat up.
No shoes required. Shirts optional also, maybe.
It gets hot in Florida. King of Florida. It's all interesting, too. This is a part of my life, I can't hide from this. People are always going to want to know.
And Presbyterian ministers and a whole group of people who are now giving personal justification for how you use psychedelics as a Christian. Now we feel Jesus. Now we can feel agape love. Now we see scripture through a whole different lens. And so, I'm getting it now from two angles, the institutional side and the justification of it. Wake up, church. Something's knocking on the door. And it's really important. I study psychedelics. I've never done psychedelics. I can't say I'm experienced with that. Don't need to be.
Nope.
No, thank you.
Yeah, me either.
But there's a worldview attached to it.
That's
Very serious worldview.
yes.
Okay.
I mean, it starts with the worldview first, doesn't
Absolutely.
it?
it
Yes.
does. And then it reinforces
Yep.
that worldview. And I do talk about that in the book. And so here we go.
Who would have ever thought?
Is this a new book, or what is he?
Yeah.
He's selling a new book?
Yeah, about anybody that, anybody like me that has done psychedelics and been like, now I want to teach Bible. I'm the bad guy. How'd that ever happen?
Not like I'm not familiar.
I was late to the party, and didn't know that you're not supposed to do psychedelics, because I've been doing them all my life, and all I've done is been, hey, guess what? More than we'll find out in heaven what God credits for. But the
apparently
flat earth.
You were raised with either different opportunities or circumstances, or I don't know how old this individual is, but he looks like he's old enough to have been live through the same
Right.
similar period of time if he was raised in America. Anyhow, don't know that either.
Yeah, he was. Your typical raised in America, exactly the opposite. He's got a new book, and it's don't listen to anybody that's done psilocybes, or much less would suggest that people that are suffering from post-traumatic stress start microdosing immediately. That's, my non-medical advice from someone who calls themselves a Christian prophet. I would say
Yeah.
exactly this guy is completely wrong, and everyone would benefit from microdosing. That's what I think. I'm allowed to have that opinion until they kill me for it.
But he's only wrong on that one topic, or is he wrong
No,
on others?
I don't know this man and the prophecy watchers, but I'm going to tell you right now, I would bet money he believes in a globe. I would bet money he doesn't think they've added 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Now, it does go
he's
back.
happy in the world he lives in, some sort of Disney World production, probably.
And the Lord
yeah,
has brought him to a point where he wants to expose, in his mind, he's doing the world a favor.
Sure.
He's driven by it. The struggle for existence is aimed against nature. It is from her niggardly hand that we have to wrest the satisfactions from our needs, for our needs. But our fellow men in the capitalistic world are competitors for the meager supply. Competition, like in capitalism, not the evil democracy of socialism and communism. We have to wrest the satisfaction for our needs, but our fellow men are our competitors for the meager supply. Competition, therefore, is a law of nature. Nature is entirely neutral, but it has laws. Nature, their creative force is a woman, submits to him who most energetically and resolutely, there, I just lost all of my panache from when I pronounced the word A in the Taurus. You can't resist my speaking into existence. Something silliness, probably. So Mother Earth grants Mother Earth's rewards to the fittest, therefore without regard to other considerations of any kind. If then there be liberty, men, life, liberty, men is something they're born with, men and women get from Mother Earth her just in proportion to their works. You're going to reap what you sow according to social Darwinism and the Bible. But they can do it without Jesus Christ. We shall favor the survival of the unfittest. What?
Well, I think that argument can be, or that this claim can be, there's in the Bible, how come those that do evil, seem to be, doing so well? That
really is in the Bible.
And, look what I'm getting for all my sweat and toil, sure, you may be just about getting by, but it's, less than ideal. No doubt.
And I think the Lord implies that in the long run, it's better off for you to have that type of a lifestyle, to live a quiet, peaceful lifestyle,
I'd rather live in a tent with the Lord than live in the palace with, with all
and
the evil.
remarkably, your tent in the desert, there'll be spiders, and then there'll still be spiders in the king's palace. Isn't that weird? I want to finish this paragraph here,
Sure.
and then I want to check on if anybody has any good ideas in the chat. We shall favor the survival of the unfittest, and we shall accomplish this by destroying liberty. Let it be understood that we cannot go outside of this alternative: liberty and equality, survival of the fittest, not liberty, equality, survival of the unfittest. The former carries society forward and favors all its best members. The latter carries society downwards and favors all its worst members. So they were realizing, going back from their time, we're trying to figure out liberty, democracy, or republic, and all we've got is that now that we're capitalists and socialists and Darwinists, what are we going to do?
It's not nearly that cut and dried, though, how they explained it there. If, who's going to take care of the infirm, the widowed, the orphan, unless, there's some sort of humanity and, just.
They got to manage their human resource. That's how they see us.
I mean, without any compassion, certainly, yeah, the survival of the fittest.
This final paragraph here, it follows from what we have observed partially about social Darwinism, that it is the utmost folly to denounce capital. So what they have hoped to prove, that you can be a good person, not believe in God, believe that you weren't created, but you still have pressure to be good, and that your belief in capitalism, which is what, the capital that they talk about, is that money and the wealth that you've accumulated to prove you're the fittest. It's utmost folly to denounce that. To do so is to undermine civilization. And eventually, Christian, you are going to be considered that person who denounced everything that is going to keep civilization. For capital is the first requisite of every social gain, educational, ecclesiastical, political, aesthetic, and other. What they're trying to say is that, show me the money.
Well, if those are the rules and that's the game, well, have fun playing it,
I'm getting messages. Have fun playing it. How can we not? We have to try to not play it, right?
Well, you're forced to play it or participate. There's probably different strategies involved, but
It's from Art. Art sent me something. Art, if you're watching, I don't see anybody watching from Facebook, and he normally does. You left your jacket at my house, and if you do swing over, bring the bike. I'm gonna have to get you a phone. You can pay me back later because
to boot.
Yeah. He's got to get a phone. He's got something where you can only call him on Facebook Messenger. He's right here in town, and I want to take him with me. I want to take him on those, when I go to film in the other towns on the Mustang, because he's got a knack for the film editing and stuff, to where he can sync two cameras together, something that I don't do.
Yeah, we're pushing near 60 here now.
Okay, let's wrap it up. So, the American YARP, these are things that, I learned in school about Andrew Carnegie's gospel of wealth. He's into that capital too. He's a guy in their history that, he believed it so much, he built these, hundreds or thousands of libraries for free. All they had to do was stock his books and read what he says. Here's the books I provide, and you can do that. Power in the United States. I want to go over this.
Yeah, that Arches and Columns had a good one up there. Where was that?
So I have a whole
Absolutely.
outline of their version of World War I and how, this is their history of how, it always comes down to just, they've traced it down to the spark of Franz Ferdinand being assassinated in Serbia by the Black Hand. And the next thing you know, the world was sucked into a war that was beyond control. And our world is so explainable that nobody would ever need a truth bomb or anything like that. So if anybody wants to go back and copy this and read it and put it in your newspaper, yeah, there is a message, and we're trying to say that everything changed and women changed in the 1920s because Edward Bernays, another relation to Darwin, decided to change the fashion, which, she normally would have a shawl on her head here and be looking completely beautiful. And here, what's the difference, and if that's not an eyeball, I don't know what is. She's going to tell you, "Hi, cutie, what's up?" And she's going to marry you, but how do you know she's not a prostitute? And she just thinks that you're wealthy and that she'd be better off marrying a rich person. The 20s were weird. I'm going to go back over that. I might make a standalone video.
Well, until it crashed, yeah, and then things weren't,
But I feel led to go over how, these are the things that they're going to teach you in the normal school, and every
that's a
single
timing thing. You can't, you don't have any control of your age when you go into a era of whether it's prosperity or total depression, and not that it changes the situation, but there
there's
may be more opportunity for some if they're young and single versus someone that's raising a family and trying to make ends meet. I'm just saying,
hunting and
that was
gathering.
Paul's argument for staying single at that time was the hardships are going to be coming, but do what you have to do.
My grandfather, Walter DeWitt Hughes, made it 3.5 years in the 1913 land grab of Oklahoma in the second Sooner Rush. Ran a 20-mule team, and he had to improve the land for 5 years, and it was just drought, couldn't do it. In the meantime, he had married a redheaded stepmom that beat the other children, and so things fell apart totally. When I was assigned to learn about social Darwinism in the university, which was kind of like a full-time job, the article, I've shown this before, had street children and orphan trains. This was the assigned reading, social Darwinism. And the other side was just very interesting too, because orphan trains, we all know about it. It was, the Gilded Age. Everything was a lie. Social Darwinism was the one thing they had to re-educate everyone together. This is, repeat after me, this is now what we believe. These children
normalize
immigrants from going to public school, saying if you want to make it here, you can make it anywhere. It's up to you. New York. And I don't recommend, psychedelics to everybody or anything, to want to go tripping. But if anybody, and if they go back and watch that video and he talks about the people that have done, this just come a racket where people want to take peyote. I have no idea what led me to go, but I already knew what I knew. I took it to confirm it, to see it. I wanted to see the stones in 3D. And if you can't remember the testing that the CIA did, and they show the one housewife that was slipped the LSD, and they said describe it, and she was going like, well, I just see the colors, you know, and it's like I feel that it's for the first time I'm part of the universe, you know. And she's explaining her experience because they secretly slipped her LSD, and it wasn't anything about like, oh my gosh, I just saw a demon that told me. Something happens and you change if that's what you're called to do.
Yeah, I
There's
prefer the organic, but you know, I've
anything, yeah.
gone on, you know, on the other synthetic or
Yes,
whatever.
and the thing is, in that on my 1,000 of what they call hallucinations, I don't believe I've ever hallucinated. I've only sought with intent God. I've never said, I want to take some LSD or some mushrooms and go to a rave tonight and pick up a girl and treat her like a whore. Sorry, I'd confess it if I did that. But that's never my intent. It seems like my whole life has been geared to, first you're going to be the obedient son, then a surveyor, then a dad, then a prophet, and not care if people believe me. But in the long run, they are going to one day see my life in front of them, and wow, he really did have a chance to paid off a house in 17 years, could have cashed in and lived by a golf course. Instead, here we go doing this one more time, and we'll be back tomorrow or the next day, Lord willing, trying to tell everybody the same thing. They've been hoodwinked. There's an elephant in the room. It's the moon. It's Darwinism and much more. RJ, how much more?
Well, pretty much everything you've been taught from as far back as you can remember, you know, until the veil's been lifted, has been, you know, a total scam.
I'm going to leave it at that, man. Right.
Even if you're going to a whatever a Christian denominational, you know, it's all corrupt.
Great is the mystery of godliness. We can't let him go. We have time to read the 3rd chapter of 2 Timothy, because it's so powerful and so good. Do you want to read it, brother?
I can attempt here with verse 1. But understand this: in the last days, terrible times will come, for men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, arrogant, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving, slanderous, without self control, brutal, without love of good, treacherous, reckless, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying its power. Turn away from such as these. They are the kind who worm their way into households and captivate vulnerable women who are weighted down with sins and led astray by various passions, who are always learning but never able to come to a knowledge of the truth. Just as Jannes and Jambres opposed Moses, so also these men oppose the truth. They are deprived in mind and disqualified from the faith, but they will not advance much further. For just like Johannes and Jambres, their folly will be plain to everyone.
And now don't be like those people. Be like these guys.
You, however, have observed my teaching, my conduct, my purpose, my faith, my patience, my love, my perseverance, my persecutions, and the sufferings that came upon me in Antioch, Iconium, and Lystra, what persecutions I endured. Yet the Lord rescued me from all of them. Indeed, all who desire to live godly lives in Christ Jesus will be persecuted, while evil men and impostors go from bad to worse, deceiving and being deceived. But as for you, continue in the things you have learned and firmly believed, since you know from whom you have learned them. From infancy you have known the Holy Scriptures, which are able to make you wise for salvation through faith in Christ Jesus. All Scripture is God breathed and is useful for instruction, for conviction, for correction, and for training in righteousness, so that the man of God may be complete, fully equipped for every good work. Amen.
You are living a Truman wife life. You know it's fake, but it pays. Commit to disowning this world. In the real world, we were ruled by social Darwinism. In a real racist world that has only recently passed. Evolution on the moon or other wandering stars must be taught as real. And I'm thinking like those stones that fall and they go, look, a wormhole. So it had to evolve. You know, it's a joke. Evolution on the moon or other wandering stars must be taught as real to those whom will encompass you about. Satanic theory, Darwinism, as globe indoctrination are for one reason, make people think that the earth is not the center of this eyeball earth. Make people think that earth is not the center of this eyeball earth. Don't not get me started on the moon. What is the hope in this created world for you? My hope, RJ, is that the gangrene, the suffering, the backstabbery, the leaving alone, the accepting of the fact that my wife did not really love me, and all of these other things will be worth it. For my hope is that this world is not my home, and that everything that they teach is a lie. And that for deferred gratification and a trust in the Bible, I will come out from among something and not be among them, as I'm going to continue. And I hope you will join me in striving to enter into the kingdom of God and hear a well done, my good and faithful servant. You're well on the road right now, and I would encourage you to not let go of the plow. Any final words, RJ?
Yeah, just to, make it to eternity, and share that with my Creator. Yeah.
Amen. It's a
And
flat earth nation. The mud
Jesus.
flood was Armageddon. The golden age is past. That's all we have. I mean, that's basically, tune in tomorrow for another topic that's going to lead to that. Because the mud flood was Armageddon, and we're never going to tell you anything else, because we've been called, we've been chosen, and we do have your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.